Best of r/entitledParents episode 9. I'm going to try and keep this short. I'm 15 and live in Croatia, so apologies if some words are wrong or if I misspell some things. Cast, me and my dad, the man who bought my dog. He's a very good person who was clueless about the whole thing. Backstory, I had a small dog called Bongo. I know it's a weird name, but I was young and I really wanted a dog named Bongo, who went missing when I was 10. So my mom said. I was very sad when that happened and didn't want to talk to anyone for a week. My mom tried to cheer me up by taking me to the toy store and to buy me a Hot Wheels car, but she mostly bought herself clothes and shoes, and I only got 3 Hot Wheels cars, only because that day it was a buy 2 get 3 deal for them. And know the main story. A couple of weeks ago I was going to a car meet in Zagreb, when I spotted a dog that looked exactly like my Bongo. Bongo has his left eye missing because of another dog who was attacking him, so that's why I knew it must be him. I told my dad it'd be back in a minute and walked up to the man who was walking him. Conversation as follows. Everything was translated from Croatian. Me, excuse me sir, may I see your dog for a second? Man, yeah, sure, he's very good with people. He's not gonna bite. Me, may I say he looks exactly like my dog. Man, oh, what's his or hers name? Me, his name was Bongo. Man, his name is also Bongo. Me, sir, where did you get this dog? At this point the dog started to whine out of happiness and started jumping around like crazy. Man, I bought him from a lady 5 years ago. My heart sank to the floor. Me, can you please describe the lady who sold you the dog? Man, short, dyed blue hair, had a small blue purse and she drove a white Kia. Me, you literally just described my mom. She said my dog went missing 5 years ago. I asked the man if he could come over to our house with Bongo to ask my mom a few questions. He said yes. I explained everything to my dad and he also recognized the dog. When we got home, when Bongo stepped into my house, when my mom saw him and the man, everything started coming together. I wish you could have seen my mom's face, white as a ghost. We had a serious talk for several hours and Bongo ended up back with me. We helped the man get another dog and kept in touch. I stopped talking to my mom and him still not talking her. And also my mom is a serious liar, a horrible person who did many other bad things, which I won't talk about now, maybe some other time. Hope you have a nice day. Thank you. Next. Alright, yes, I know the title is long. And there is a TL, doctor at the bottom. With all of that out of the way, let's get started. So this happened a while ago. I had just gotten Super Mario Run on my phone, and it was still pretty new. My sister and dad were out of town, so my mom and I went to a sushi restaurant for dinner. So this was just a casual day of my mom and I eating sushi at a place we liked. Nothing could go wrong, right? Wrong, entitled mom. EK, entitled kid. Me, well, me, mom. Take a wild guess. Server, the nice server. So this was a sushi restaurant right next to a game stop. Usually, I would order my food then walk over to see what's new. I would walk back a couple minutes later to eat my food. This time, though, I had just come home from sports practice, and I was pretty tired, so I stayed in the restaurant playing Mario Run on my phone, which is $10, and waited for my food. In comes EM and EK. Go ask that boy if you can play on his phone. EK, okay MUMMY. So I have no problem with letting a little kid play on my phone. As long as he didn't run off, I was fine. EK, hi, what game is that? Me, Super Mario Run. It just came out. EK, is it free? Me, no, it is $10. EK, can I play on it? Me, yay, just not too long. EK runs to his mom with my phone. My mom was watching, so we walked over to their table to get it back. Mom, sorry to bother you, but can my son have his phone back? No, my kid PA'd. EK whispers $10 into her ear. Minus $10 of his own money for this game. And this is his cell phone. I was not in the mood for this. I was getting a little agitated, too. Me, then unlock the password. EK, waste of time. I know it. Me, prove it. I think the kid just gave up, so he just gave it back. EK, alright, here. I don't know the password. I was like, cool, it is settled. But of course EM had an excuse. EM, well, if you can afford that expensive game, then you can afford my son or Xbox. EK, I want Xbox. Yes, he said it wrong. Me, no, I saved up money for this game. I can't afford that. EM, shouting, this kid just stole my son's phone. I wanted to crush her. Then our server came, and everything changed. Server, is everything okay, Mom? EM, no. This effing kid just stole my son's phone. EK, yay. Mom, no, that is not true. They took my son's phone and ran off. Server, I will check the security footage to see who is telling the truth. EM then held up the middle finger at us, and then the server came back out. Server, Mom, come with me. EM pushes my mom at her. Server, not you, her. She pointed at EK, who was shocked. She had taken her outside and she got arrested for attempt of theft and disturbing the customers. EK got called by CPS. They asked my mom if she would like to press charges. All we wanted was a relaxing dinner, but the entitled family had to deal with a lot. So we said no. Everything was normal after that. Thanks for reading. TL. Doctor, EM gives my phone to EK and refuses to give it back, so they get arrested. Thank you. Next. So after reading some stories with their parent being the entitled parent, I was thinking these aren't entitled, they are just helicopter parents. The term helicopter parents mean they are very protective of their children and will right the wrong. Entitled parents are people who think they or their child deserve everything. This is r/entitledParents, not r/helicopter parents. So next time think about the story and how the parent act, okay? Please don't hate. I am just expressing my opinion. Thank you. Next. Male, 18 and from Spain, and just came to live alone in the UK and get my university degree. Obviously, as anyone would suppose, my parents had some concerns about it. Normal human concerns that you'd have if your son went to live alone to another country with a different language and so young. What I did not expect was what I said in the title. They formally asked me to shave my beard and to avoid the sun during the summer so I didn't look African. When I came to the UK, their justification was that them Brits are very racist. First impressions are very important if you want to make friends, and we want you to be happy and to socialize. I understand their concern with social interaction because I am a bit of an introvert and only hang out with the same 5 people back at home, but I think this request is just comically stupid and ironically racist to both Africans and Brits. I asked them if they were serious plenty of times and they still have the same take. Nonetheless, I could get away with my beard intact, and I promise that these guys are not evil or controlling at all. They can just get weird sometimes. I just wanted to share this funny experience, even though it's not the level of entitlement that you see in this subreddit. Have a nice day. Thank you. Next. So a little bit of a backstory. I have a mild case of autism where I don't pay enough attention and get easily distracted. Basically my attention span is pretty low to where sometimes I daydream too often. Another thing to add, my parents are divorced so it would work out for them. You see, my dad is the entitled jackass of this story and my mom is a much more civilized and sane person. My dad is the kind of dad that you wouldn't want to ask for help on homework or anything, as he would get upset if you do not do a problem right after trying it out 20 times and to when it is 3 in the morning. My mom on the other hand gave me some nice tutors that help me with my work and thus help me with my work in a much calmer fashion. My dad was always very strict and unbearable. I still remember as a child, my dad would force me to read SpongeBob SquarePants kids books and gets real upset if I don't pronounce a word correctly when I was still a child, not wanting to look at the books after that. And they are SpongeBob SquarePants, a beloved kids cartoon character. Don't get the wrong idea, he isn't abusive by any means at all, he was just strict beyond belief. Now my innocent mind didn't understand what a divorce was at the time until it was explained. Growing up, I got 2 Christmas and 2 birthdays. I saw this as an absolute win. Unfortunately, as I grew up, I began to be afraid of my own dad more. I would complain being at his house. I would flinch and ask what do I do when he calls me, and because of him, I became a bully to my mom, being angry all the time and holding grudges against her and my sisters when I was 8. Like a school bully, bringing the rage from their home to the school. I regret those days and would wanna smack the anime edgelord. 2005 grudge holding. Screw you mom, you'll never understand. Out of the past version of me if I traveled back in time. One more thing to add, when an autistic child, or any child with a mental disability, at the age of 18 has to decide to go to which parent's house to get some help in the real world, they can decide if I am capable of handling what reality has thrown at me, and due to my autism being mild, I was an okay kid growing up. A few tantrums here and there, but it all worked out in the end. Besides, every other child has been through it. We grow. Moving on. Now a few months before the trial, there was a lady that would come to both houses and analyze how life is like. She analyzed my mom as well as her living standards, and she did well. She also went to my dad's place with me there. I explained what goes on at that house. Even said something real risky. So how would you say your father is like? The lady asks. Well, it's quite stressful, and honestly, me and my sisters are afraid of doing anything. It's like trying to stop the countdown of a nuclear bomb. I was honestly surprised my dad didn't step in at all or even scolded me once she left. After her, there was another person that came. A guy whose job was to interview me and know what I want. Which parent to go to. I was hesitant of choosing sides, so I went for both parents. The problem was later when I found out that my dad was listening in on my conversation with the man. Kinda raises some red flags, wouldn't you say? At first, I didn't want to decide between the two because of my love for the both of them. I thought of going to both houses for advice, that is, until I realized my dad wouldn't listen to my mom if it meant saving his life. He did everything he can to get me to be with him, most notably forcing me to bring friends over when I just want to have a me day. Don't get me wrong, my friends are great, it's just constantly forcing me to them isn't gonna help. And here is where the real story begins. If you read this far, I congratulate you for enduring unnecessary moments. Because of my college schedule, my trial was a week before my birthday. To make things easier, I was at my dad's week at the time, so he drove me to the courthouse. We were then crossing the streets and this is what happened. So Grovile 489. What do you want for your birthday? Dad asks. I knew he was trying to buy me, that damn snake, but I played along saying, I sent you a list. I sent my dad a list of things I want should Christmas and my birthday come up that mostly involve games. Call me spoiled, I'm well aware of that. So we enter and I was pretty nervous, so I sat at a bench next to the door. My mom, and like my dad, didn't pressure me to her house. She only tells me, Grovile 489, it's going to be okay, just pick whatever house you want. She never pressured me to do things her way, and I respect her for that. Anyway, it was time for the trial, and when we went to our seats, the seating arrangement was, from left to right, mom, me, dad. Now I want you to remember that order. So a couple of cases go by. I didn't really paid attention to them. Some was somewhat similar to my case, but with some grandma with Alzheimer's. I dunno, it really isn't my business. It was our turn and we approached the judge with my lawyer that's been hired by the state. Now when my mom heard about me wanting to be with both of them to get through in life, she was very hesitant, not wanting to do this. But my blindness didn't realize this until I said, Mr. Lawyer, I have changed my mind and wanted to be with my mom, and if you think you can get me to speak to the judge privately. I tell him, and I didn't know how my mom was feeling, for your information. Okay, I'll see what I can do. Your Honor, I don't represent Mrs. G, but I don't think she wants to share custody, and my client has told me he wants to be with her instead of both of them. And my client would also like to request that he speaks to you in private. Mr. Lawyer tells the judge. I can tell my dad was shocked. I didn't confirm it because I was too worried of what will happen. I will speak to Grovile 489 and find a solution. We will take a 5-minute break, and during the break, I will reach my verdict. The judge says. We return to our seats, and this was the new order. Mom, me, space, dad. I was absolutely terrified that I couldn't even look at him. If you looked closer you could see me slightly shaking in fear. I felt a hand on my shoulder and heard, Grovile, do you want me to drop out? Because I can drop out if you want me to. Just tell me what you want. From dad. It's like him to keep on pushing something when things don't go his way. Mom realized this and defended me, saying, Mr. G, don't bother him, you're scaring him. To which he responded with, I'm not bothering him, I just want to know what he wants. I went to the restroom and then washed my hands. I leaned to the sink and asked myself, Groval 489, what the hell are you doing? I didn't think I would make it that far in all honesty. I called my older sister and told her how the trial was going. She was comforting me when all of a sudden, the bathroom door swung open by Dad. Groval 489, fear ready for you. I had to hang up right away while I felt my soul rip straight from the back of my head. Who are you calling? Dad asks. Just a friend. I respond quickly. Groval 489, don't lie to me. Dad responds in a guilt-tripping tone. No, I'm serious, it was just a friend. I said after he said that. I told the judge what goes on, after he handed me 2 Snicker bars, and he reaches his verdict. The new order is as follows, me, Mom, space, Dad. The court was over and we went to leave. We also had to go and get something from my community college and my dad was going on about how we were gonna go there, we're gonna get the thing. Mom knew that I didn't want to be with him after that and said that she will take me. He got real upset and left through the front door. He noticed me and Mom leaving to the basement. Hey, the exit is right here, he says to her, but she didn't respond. Admittedly, I too didn't understand why we are going down there until she explained that there is an exit at the basement. God bless whoever thought of that when making the courthouse. We watched Dad storm off angrily to his car and drove off. I redialed my sister and told her what happened. Meanwhile, my dad called my mom and scolded her for brainwashing me and all that stuff. She was having none of it and hung up. After she hung up, she gets a text from him saying, grosera, which is Spanish for rude. Dad from Peru, Mom from Mexico. After we did my thing, I was very hesitant to enter the house, but to my surprise, he acted like the trial didn't even happen. Like everything was fine. The fact he was so calm honestly made me a bit more on edge. And that is what happened on the day of the trial. Thank you. Next. This is my first ever post, so please be kind. Also not sure if this fits. Cast. Me as well, me. EP as entitled Karen. EK as entitled Spawn. So for the past 2 years, I've worked as one of Santa's elves and took photos for families with Santa. Now, yes, I have enjoyed the job, but there are always those parents in particular who make my job unbearable. Me and my co-workers had 3-hour shifts, one from 1 p.m. 3 p.m. and the second from 4 p.m. 7 p.m. I, being a veteran since I had worked the previous year, was given multiple shifts. So basically each day I got there at 12:45 am and left maybe around 7:15 pm depending on how busy the day was. There were 3 jobs that we would be assigned to each day: cashier, photographer and photo printer. I hated being the photographer because I could never get kids to pay attention. We had toys with bells we would ring to attempt to get the kids' attention while the EPs just stood by on their phones, not helping whatsoever. Those ESP were the ones who would complain that their kid was crying in the photo or not smiling. Some EP would ask us to retake photos even though the lineup was long and we didn't have the time to retake, but unfortunately, we would sometimes have to retake because they just wouldn't leave the photo printer alone. We would retake the photos and would again get the same result of kids crying or not smiling even though we asked the parents to help get the kids' attention. The worst shifts I've worked were the evening shifts that felt like they lasted an eternity. The lines were ridiculously long, basically out the door. Any smart parents would show up early and wait in line before we opened so they could get their pictures taken and printed quickly. However, then there were the EPs who decided to show up after we had already closed off the line. Since we close up at 7, we would estimate how long each family that was left in the line would take and then close off the line if there were at least 6 or 7 families waiting in line about 6:50 p.m. I was usually the one to close off the line, tell the last family in line they were the last ones, and I would tell the security guard to not let any more families in, but of course, they would let people in, which pissed me and my co-workers off. Sometimes it would be about 6:50 p.m. with only 4 or 5 families in line so we could keep the line open until 6:55 p.m. then close it off. Most families are totally fine with coming back the next day or later on if we're closing up from the 1-3 p.m. shift. Now here's where the fun comes in. It was Christmas Eve and it was the busiest I've ever seen the line. Literally out the door and down the sidewalk. Family after family came through and we tried to print off their pictures as quickly as we could, but we had to print off other orders first. We told families the photos would be done in maybe 15 minutes, but sometimes it became an hour depending on how many orders we had and if parents were complaining. As 7 p.m. came close, we decided to keep the line open as long as possible, all the way up to 6:59 p.m. We thought we were being very generous for keeping the line open for as long as we did, and many families showed up just before we closed, which was fine. But then came two EPs and their EKs. It was past 7 p.m. We had already closed off the line and had no more customers for the night. EPs wanted to get photos taken with Santa, but I told them we're sorry but we're closed. We closed at 7 and it's past 7. We can take your photos, but it's only a few kids you can take their pictures. Said EP. I'm sorry mom, but no, we can't take your kids' pictures. Again, we're closed, I said. At this point I was furious and the security guard was doing nothing to help. She just stood there watching this all happen. EP kept telling us to take her kids' pictures because it's Christmas. Yes it is, but we're closed. I yelled cause she kept berating me. It was causing a scene but I didn't care. You're ruining Christmas for my kids. How dare you? They said. Did I ruin Christmas? If anything, the parents ruined Christmas because they showed up after we closed. Eventually, my boss came out and asked what was going on, which me and my co-workers explained. My boss told the lady exactly what I told her and finally the security guard escorted them away. The kids were crying and the parents just glared at me. Not the best experience, but I couldn't believe how inconsiderate people could be, expecting us to take their kids' photos after Santa had already left. Edit. I'm glad you guys enjoyed the story. Thank you. Next. I live in a small town which has an annual fair. My best friend and I were stoked to go. We bought tickets in advance and couldn't sleep. The day of the fair rolls around and my friend and I drive to downtown. It's busy as crap, so we waited in traffic for 10 minutes. It was intense and nobody was patient. When we finally got there, we immediately bought some water and guzzled them down. While we were guzzling them down, this woman that just radiates Karen walks up. Her kid, probably 4 years old, says that us guzzling is disgusting and we owe them our tickets. I was annoyed and told her no, and walked away with my friend. Next thing we know, this woman comes up right behind us and calls my friend in. I got really heated and shouted at her. I told her to gtfo. Well, this EB starts running to find security, and comes back with two guys. They asked us to explain. Keep in mind, this fair is crowded, and there is a crowd. We told the guard the story but we really wasn't having it. They grabbed me and my friend. The people went crazy and told the guards what we said was true, and they let go of us. The guards got heated and threw the lady and her kid out. The crowd was happy and we had a good day at the fair.